You show love to anybody not named Caitlin Clark. You are part of, some constituency that's trying to keep her contributions at a minimum, and you're racist, and we get a lot of that. It's no wonder that the W coverage is all Black women, because you're all in it together to try to keep her down.
In a shocking twist, ESPN has made headlines for firing one of their prominent voices, Elle Duncan. Wondering why? Buckle up, because this drama runs deep, and it's got everything to do with her relentless attacks on Caitlin Clark, the WNBA's rising star who's been setting the league on fire. But instead of cheering Clark's insane success, Duncan chose a different path, one that led straight to her downfall at ESPN.
Breanna Stewart's never going to win another championship, or, Nafisa Collier's better than Maya Moore. Like, instead of those kinds of hot takes, the hot takes solely and explicitly surround all of these Black women from different parts of the country. Like, she's sort of existed in this bubble.
How arrogant is this?
Elle Duncan's focus wasn't just critique, it became an all-out campaign against Caitlin Clark. And let's be real, it's one thing to offer hot takes, but Duncan took it to the next level, dragging Clark into what many are calling a witch hunt.
The hot takes solely and explicitly surround all of these Black women versus Caitlin Clark.
Bomani Jones and Elle Duncan have teamed up to do what seemingly every person of color, a.k.a. every African American in the WNBA, around the WNBA, and in media are doing. They're coming at the 22-year-old white straight girl, Caitlin Clark. Because, see, here's the deal. Because Caitlin Clark can throw a ball into a basket deeper and better than anybody in the history of women's basketball, because Caitlin Clark plays with a flair.
But why Caitlin Clark? I mean, is it because she can sink threes deeper and better than anyone in the history of women's basketball? Is it because she brings that swagger and trash talk we all love, playing with the same fire as legends like Jordan, Bird, and Magic? Maybe. But Duncan's comments took it from critique to something far more personal.
Now, seriously, how arrogant is this? Honest to God, this is as arrogant as you can possibly be. I mean, I hear all the time, don't judge me. Don't judge me by the color of the skin. Don't judge me. Really? Okay. Well, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're sitting there and judging me. You're judging a woman you have no idea.
And here's where things get wild. Elle's co-host, Bomani Jones, jumped in on the act, seemingly joining a bandwagon of commentators who've turned Caitlin Clark into a target. Why? Because, to put it bluntly, she's a straight white girl who dominates a sport historically ruled by Black athletes. Instead of focusing on the game, some have turned this into a narrative war, and it's ugly. But trust me, we're not done peeling back the layers of this controversy.
Understand that I'm coming from a place of being a Black woman who has my whole life had other people try to validate any successes that I've had. And that is probably why it pisses me off more than anything, because I understand that Black women are always overlooked, and no matter what they end up doing, they had to work twice as hard for half as less.
So, what happened next? Well, viewers weren't having it. Duncan's biased takes didn't land, and accusations without evidence? Yeah, those don't go over well. The backlash was swift, and it wasn't long before ESPN had no choice but to cut ties with her.
Everybody that I know still know what ESPN tells me. It's so ridiculous, these women. It's so ridiculous. There's a green room right next to where the makeup is. It's loud, it's stupid, it's asinine, it's absurd. And that's Elle Duncan and her little cast of cronies. And all the little girls at ESPN, look, all they are is trying to make themselves, well, not better, more popular. And I don't care what they do. Elle Duncan has lived in that bubble forever. Elle Duncan is full of shit here.
And that's where it gets juicy. Some fans are calling this move long overdue. Duncan's narrative wasn't just about basketball, it felt like a personal vendetta. The irony? As Duncan doubled down on her critique, Caitlin Clark was out there dominating the court, letting her game do the talking.
She's looked absolutely marvelous, regardless of whatever noise has been out there. So when you show that you're able to perform in the face of adversity, to me, that is the true testament to greatness.
But wait, it gets better. Dan Dockich, a seasoned commentator, didn't hold back either. He laid out the cold, hard truth, calling out the jealousy swirling around ESPN's studios. According to Dockich, it's all about making noise without substance. And the noise? Well, it's backfiring hard.
Caitlin Clark has literally carried the sport on her back all summer long. She talks that yang. That's what resonates with Caitlin Clark. It isn't her being white. It isn't her being straight. Her game resonates with people in basketball and across the country because she's got that edge. She plays with a flair. I heard her drop 3 F-bombs in one game sitting right there courtside. Her teammates had to hold her back. She's yelling at the coach. That's what Magic, Bird, Isaiah, Jordan, you name it, that's what they do. Clark resonates, but that clicking sound you hear is television's being turned off. Ain't nobody watching this stuff now. Ain't nobody turning the set on and saying, I gotta watch who?
Think about it. While Duncan was busy trying to undermine Clark's achievements, the WNBA's ratings were skyrocketing, with viewership up nearly 40% since Clark's debut. That's right. Caitlin Clark isn't just a star, she's the star. And Duncan's attempt to shift the spotlight away from Clark wasn't fooling anyone. Viewers saw right through the charade.
That was down nearly 50% from last Sunday's Fever Sun contest. By the way, not only was viewership down, but attendance was as well. There are very, very few people, but there are some out there who resent the fact that this young white girl came out there and did her thing. Rookie of the Year, 4th in the league for MVP voting, assist leader, one of the top leading scorers after the Olympic Games. She put on a show, validating all the attention she was receiving. A rising tide lifts all boats.
You know what's wild, though? As all of this was happening, Caitlin stayed laser-focused on basketball. While others dragged her name through the mud, she kept her head down, letting her insane skills speak louder than any critic ever could.
As far as box office, tell me the lady that came in with this. She's basically the LeBron James. The kind of hype that LeBron came into the NBA with, Caitlin Clark came to the WNBA with the same type of hype. And she's backed it up.
Now, let's shift gears for a second. There's more to this story, and it involves Angel Reese, a critic who tried to steal the spotlight. Reese even said that Clark was only popular because she's humble and has a boyfriend. Seriously? Tell me you've got more to offer than that. At the same time, Reese was out here in booty shorts, shaking it for the cameras. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but when your game can't compete, trying to drag Clark down won't save you.
And then to have someone come in who has been amazing for the game, for the sport, of her own volition, worked really hard in Caitlin Clark, but to have this group of people come in and immediately invalidate the contributions of all of these women before her simply because they don't know, that's what's been frustrating, you know? So yes, people are going to talk about it more, but oh my God, please just educate yourself so that you can have bad takes that involve basketball and not bad takes that send racism and misogyny into the timelines of these women. It's unfair.
And yet, the drama didn't stop. Duncan's attacks even extended to Clark's fan base, accusing them of being part of some conspiracy to dismiss the contributions of Black women in the WNBA. Talk about moving the goalposts. When you can't win on the court, you shift the narrative. But guess what? Fans weren't buying it.
So much of that nasty rhetoric has toned down since the Fever got bounced from the postseason. And I don't think it's because necessarily people aren't watching. Like, we're still setting huge ratings increases, record ratings, despite it not being any Fever games involved. Obviously, her games saw exponentially more growth and more viewership, but we're still over-indexing anything that we had done in previous years. You all think that you are making Caitlin Clark some like avatar for you to like, you know, be nasty and to attack women. Caitlin Clark admires these women that you're attacking. She grew up admiring them and wanting to be like them. She was inspired by them. For you to then turn it and make them the villains and her the, you know, the victim in this has been asinine. And
now here's the real kicker. Through all of this, Clark's staying humble. She hasn't lashed out, hasn't engaged in any of the negativity. She's just putting up numbers, game after game, and proving that she's not only one of the best, but also a class act on and off the court.
What she misses is she should be happy about this. She should be happy that finally these crazy-ass, angry lesbian women and their league are being treated like regular, real sports leagues. But in real sports leagues, when viewership is down a half from the regular season, it's discussed. And it makes these women crazy, these crazy-ass liberal lesbians, that we're not just talking about all seashells and balloons. Here's the bar that Caitlin Clark set. Here's where they're at now. And others don't understand that.
As for ESPN, firing Duncan might just be their attempt to distance themselves from the drama. But the question remains, can they rebuild their credibility after this? Will fans return to a network that let one of their prominent figures target an athlete who's simply doing what she does best? Playing great basketball?
7% from three. Clark on a step back, buries a three. Part of the challenge that Dallas has had all year. Clark catch and shoot and knocks down her second three. Very well executed. Indiana will reset. Clark fire away. You bet. Come on.